Okay, from the challenges, actually, the second challenge that we may face when, or the security experts may face actually when settling the security scenarios or whatever, securing an environment. The sophisticated approaches that attackers follow in order to achieve their goals. What we see actually, it's a sort of group of icons that we are familiar with. Here, folders, here, let's say files. Here is an email with a link, but whatever. The context of the sophisticated attacks is a scenario via which an attacker lures a victim in the sense of it is a trick to make the victim fall in order to succeed in the attack or to reach the, uh, the attack goal. In the sense of uh, here, those folders here, we know that the folders do not have extensions as per definition from within the Windows environment and all the operating systems environments. Folders do not have extensions. So if I say the barbie.scr, this is a folder, no, this is not trusted. This is not something that we can feel confident with because folders do not have extensions. SCR actually is a shortcut. So this is not a folder, and this is doughty, and thus this is actually a trial to trick the user to click it. Once you click it, actually you fall into an attack and you made the attack succeed. Your computer is a victim. So sophisticated attacks actually they are tricks of using technologies and technological approaches that you can sometimes actually feel they are trustful, but they are not in reality. So this is one of the challenges also that developers or let's say security experts face daily. And this is actually in our daily life. We face them actually daily. Those are actually we are concerned since we are using the digital environments. We are concerned with those givens. Okay. From the other challenges also is the concern of the distributed attacks. What is a distributed attack? Actually, a scenario, a normal scenario, normal behavior via which we see an attacker attacking a victim is that a computer, this the one, the red one, that tries to that let's say a hacker or a cracker or let's say a security kiddie is trying to attack a victim machine. This is a normal scenario. This is a graph that illustrates a normal behavior. But uh, this is actually in the normal case. We just have to secure the victim's machine against all the input points that comes from this machine. So we can recognize somehow that this is the victim and everything that comes from this victim's machine, sorry, from this attacker's machine, we secure it. We make actually countermeasures. Yet the thing is a little bit actually more complicated when we talk about the distributed attack. Still, the same attacker is doing his task to attack the same victim. Yet now he is using compromised devices to do the same task. He is not doing anything. He is commanding. He is commanding compromised devices to do what he was willing to do. So the victim machine would be attacked by the attacker without the presence of the attacker. This victim machine, it is protected against this victim machine, this attacker's machine. But this attacker's machine is not doing anything. So this one would be attacked and the attack would be successful. Why? Because the compromised devices, they are computers also. They are doing what the attacker is willing to do. So we can understand here is that an attacker can compromise, can have a list of compromised devices to do exactly what he wills to do at the same time. If he, for example, this one, he wants to block this computer from using the internet. So those computers, those compromised devices, those compromised computers, they will attack and block this computer from opening the internet. And this one will be actually accepting the attacks. Why? Because he has no clue that those computers that they are attacking him, because he does not know them. Then the number of the compromised devices in this graph, they are four: 1, 2, 3, and 4 in this graph. But compromised devices in a real world, in a real field, let's say battle, they are hundreds and thousands of devices. They're not only four, they are a big number, much more bigger than this number. So the effect on the attacked machine is much more catastrophic. It's much more effective. Then let me pass just one step further to give some definitions. But even though I'll come back to that slide. Just I'm searching for an information to give it to you. Regardless, we'll come to that. We'll come to that. Just we'll go step by step. So the list of the compromised devices, they are generated in a network which is nominated botnet. The botnet, network of bots, network of robots. They are acting as per the commands of this attacker. Each compromised device is a zombie or is a bot. Zombie or a bot. We'll define that just in a while. We continue. So, and they are distributed attack actually. Why? Because you see we have a segregated list of computers. Those computers, they are not in the room or in the house or where this or in the office where this attacker is. No, they might be geographically segregated by continents. This is in Africa, this is in Europe, this is in the United States, this is actually in Asia. Completely different and geographically talking. Other challenges that security experts face and all the digital devices users face: the zero-day attack. The zero-day attack, or the day zero attack, actually. The zero-day attack. It's one of the scenarios that all of us, since we are using the digital assets, hardware, software, we are faced of this kind of attack. What is that? Actually, this is actually a sort of a weakness that it is not covered. Attacks will compromise, will use to inject their malware. I repeat, the zero-day attack, it's a kind of a weakness available in a software or in a hardware that the hardware or the software owner did not secure. So it would be discovered by the attackers, which is going to lead to an injection. The attacker would inject his malware, and we define what is injection. So the zero-day attack, it is a weakness, and this weakness is classified. It is not any weakness. It is a vulnerability, yes. It is not any vulnerability, but it is a kind of a vulnerability and weakness due to non-technical updates. There are updates required to secure your entry points within your hardware and your software. In the sense of you are buying a new laptop, for example, and the laptop actually is equipped with operating system, for example, let's say Windows 10. If you do not do the technical updates, there are entry points that you did not block. The technical updates and the respective technical updates, you have to know what are they. If you do the updates, you are secure. Otherwise, if you do not do the updates, the technical updates, you are exposed and your device is still vulnerable against some uncertain and specific attacks. Can you repeat this phrase, please? Is it clear? Can you repeat what I just said right now regarding the zero-day attack? Mariam, can you repeat what I just said about the zero-day attack? Mariam, the question is to you.
What, Mister?
Can you repeat what I said about the zero-day attack? And Mustafa, can you repeat what I said, what I defined about the zero-day attack?
Yes, doctor.
What did I define? How I define the zero-day attack? Can you just say or define?
By two ways, doctor. They discovered the vulnerabilities and
Yes.
day zero attacks.
Okay. Somehow, what you are saying is exactly tackling the zero-day attack. It's a context of vulnerability that attackers use. Yes. And this vulnerability is due to what? Due to uncovered updates, technical updates, which are patches. We'll define the updates just in a while. So there are updates that we have to do for every digital asset that we take, whether it is only a hardware or just a software only. So there are updates to control the inputs that we have to do. You have to know what are the updates, not any update, but there are updates responsible for allowing inputs and outputs, data input and data output. They have to be updated, up to date, in order to control the flow. If it's not updated with the latest, let's say, distributions, update files, update resources, it causes a vulnerability, it causes a breach, which is to be utilized by attackers to inject a malware, kind of a zero-day attack. And it is said the zero. Why? Because this kind of zeroth or zero-day attack, it is a scenario of a malware residing in your environment without being discovered. It is available in your environment without being discovered. It does not declare it without awareness. And it can be injected only from the period that you use the device or the software until you make the updates. From the day zero until you make the updates. All this period before you make the updates, it is the area where this kind of malware can be injected in. From the day zero until you make the updates. So you have to make the updates in order to stop such a behavior. Updates of what? Updates of the software you are using or the system you are using or the device you are using. During the vulnerability, when the vulnerability is first exploited. So that is a period of time that you have to control also. Okay. And this actually might happen. One of the reasons that you may say that why I can get such attack or I can acquire such attack or my device is vulnerable to such attack is that the context of the updates is not something that you can fix by just a matter of click. You click a button and done, it has been finished. No. As we said earlier, the patching, it is a technical update that has to tackle specific features to update. Not every update, not all the updates to be set. So the patching, it's a technical update that you have to know exactly what are the components to update. Otherwise, it causes you mess and causes you actually a complexity that still can cause other vulnerable access points. Some numbers that shows the effectiveness of these challenges versus the security is those are some breaches, malicious actually threats. They are causing damages again and again, and the numbers they are increasing by year. So the number of the breaches and the attacks, the threats, effects by year, it is increasing and remarkably increasing, and still is going on up to the date of the writing of this book, which is 2010. 10, the number is enormous. We are talking about millions. Actually, this is actually as per the scanned and recorded digital environments. Still numbers only as per the reference of this book. We are having actually approximately actually numbers of infected devices within the digital environment. In the area where the book has made his scan, the book's author, are the numbers. You can refer to that in the book also. Great. Any questions here, please?
No, Mr. Complete.
Okay. The need of the information security now, we were talking about the challenges. It means something that we have to face whenever we talk about setting a security plan or security scenario, or digital security approach. Now, the need why we may talk about information security, why we may talk about information assurance and computer security, why we may talk about digital security, why it is to be set. So, if you remember very well, last class we talked about that the security or the plans of security, digital security, has to be set on top of the resources. We have to make the service run, the application run, the system run, and then after we install our security plan, or we make our security plan work or in action, we bring into an action. Yes, great. So why we may talk about that, the need, the importance of the information security. Due to the benefits we may get actually, and due to the let's say revenues and the return value of the set information security plans or security approaches, it makes us understand that this is a need. It makes us conclude that this is a need. So the benefits, the revenue, the return value of the information security plans or set plans, they are the cause of the need. So when we prevent the data theft, this is a good thing actually, because online we cannot expect from where the thief can come and can compromise any data we have. So preventing all the theft and the robbery actions in the digital world, this is one of the very good needs that pushes us to set up a security plan. Not only to protect yourself, but to obey to the laws and to the regulations to deliver good services, avoid legal consequences. To deliver good service and qualitative services, you have to secure your environment. Thus, there are laws whenever we are talking about the service delivery online, digital environment. So you have to obey to the laws, that the policies and the politics that they govern, that they govern the service delivery you are working in. Yeah, at the same time, it will cause you the continuation of production, means your service will continue working. It will actually cover a long list of cyber attacks that can happen to your environment. It will be actually covered and it can be actually blocked and encountered. This and it cannot happen. Protect yourself. And also, this is one of the very good needs, which is to thwart your identity. Your identity is in plural. So to mimic it, to make anybody mimic your status, you are protecting yourself from being actually uh, exposed towards identity theft. Towards identity theft. Let's go on deep. Let's go on deep. Immediately, some numbers. Actually, I'm not gonna explain all the numbers. Just I'm gonna read you a question. Why we may need actually a security plan to avoid the identity theft or the let's say data theft or whatever. Because a good company that delivers good and qualitative service online has to have positive reputation online. If it gets a bad publicity that its asset has been compromised, so it will not have a customer loyalty, it will not have a continuation of service delivery, and it will actually fail somehow. This is a failure. So it has to be protected against different attacks, amongst of them the identity theft or the data theft. Still, let's talk about numbers. I'll pass to this view, much more easier to explain. Attacks actually they are attacking and they are happening on all digital assets. Yet, an attacker will not waste his time to just break your username and password. That's it. No, he will not do that to just find your username and password. He does not care about your username and your password. An attacker, whatever the attacker is, but he cares about the assets you have, the digital assets you have. Whatever digital assets he can compromise, that's his need, that's his purpose, that's his intention. And because of this only, Muhammad Ali came in now. And because of this only, we can see here some analysis and some actually benchmarking has been happened, and they are declaring that attacks on financial and retail sectors they are the most happening. Means attackers they attack to thieve your money or your products more than to attack your computer just to break your username and password. Almost 3% means almost nothing when we compare to 31%. 1 out of 10 or more or less even. So the sector of the activity specifies the threat potential or the threat intensity or the threat view, the threat severity. So if you're just having an account with your name and your ID only, this is actually an empty asset. It's not a big deal. The attacks they will not waste their time on trying to break in your username and password only to find it, to guess it, to let's say to hack it and get it. No, they will not waste their time on that. They do not have any benefit behind. So the need here of the attacker is to get a value, return value. In finance, they talk about money. Retail, they talk about services and money also. So those are very attractive fields where attackers can behave. And because of that only, we are seeing big numbers of attacks percentages compared to other, let's say, fields like the technological field. Technological means only digital values that they have no value in the market. They have no commercial value. They do not have any meaning, let's say, for the attacker or for the attackers. Yes, another view specifying the number of attacks in millions based on sector of activity. The petroleum is the most attacked. The power and the utilities is a little bit less. Transportation is then still high, but it's less than the other, and so on. So the sector of the activity, it specifies the quantity of the severity of the threats available in the market or available worldwide. Still numbers only, talking about the severity of attacks. Still numbers also again. Just I'll pass to slide next section. Sorry. Before I pass to the next section, here the thwart and identity. Just one small explanation I'm gonna bring your attention to is that the thwart and identity, or just to hijacking your identity, is one of the very common attacks that might happen actually on the digital environment, and this is a need that pushes us to secure our digital environment. What does it mean? If you as a student can log into the EduWave using my credentials, using me as an instructor to the EduWave, you'll be able to see all the students' marks, you'll be able to see the exams, you'll be able to see the marks and so on, the profiles. You'll see juicy data, you'll see very important data. So this is a good intention to push you to try to thwart my ID, to hijack my ID, to thieve my ID, to hack my ID. So, to block any attacker from hacking my ID, there are scenarios that we have to set, and this is a very good perhaps to push us to set up a security scenario to deny any other person to use my personal data or my personal credentials. Any questions here, please? Any questions, please? Okay, we'll continue. Since we don't have any questions. Yes. Terminologies. Now let's talk about. Let's talk security. Let's talk security now. Terminologies we're going to define. That actually will put you in the frame, and you'll be able to feel more comfortable with this course. So please try to understand all the terms we are going to define now, and memorize them also. You have to understand, recognize them, and memorize them at the end. Good. I use the word set again and again and again. And still we're going to use it, and still it will be persistent even. And a set, it's a question of security in our scenario. It might be a software application, it might be a system application, it might be a hardware, it might be a network hardware device. Everything that is a question of security, it has to be secured. That is in a set. Do you need to secure your mobile device? The answer is yes. So your mobile device is in a set. Do you need to secure your exam answers? The answer is yes. So your answers, they are in a set, and so on. So in a set is the component, hardware or software, that is a question of security, that has to be secured. We are talking about the digital security only. It is not only عتاد in Arabic. It's the عتاد and it's برمجيات. It's both hardware and software. It's said. The second term, the threat. It is a scenario via which it's a process to steal, let's say, a value, to steal a data, to steal information, to steal a value in general. So a threat would actually hack your username and password, will thieve your username and password and send them to the attacker. The fact of stealing is the threat, is the threat behavior. The threat agent, third, number three, the threat agent is the one responsible for the threat, is the one that thieves, that uses a threat to thieve data. The threat agent uses a threat to attack a victim. So a victim is attacked by a threat agent using a threat. Vulnerability, next term, vulnerability. It is a breach, it is a defect, it is a failure in an environment that causes attackers to have the chance to access. If exploited and found, attackers will use it to access the environment. Vulnerability. It's a defect that causes lack of control, data flow control, whether in the input or in the output. Vulnerability. A vulnerability can be found if an exploitation has been happened. A vulnerability might be found if an exploitation has been happened. What does this mean? It means that exploit, the term exploit, is a behavior to scan for available, let's say, access points, available for weaknesses, available for breaches and vulnerabilities. Exploit or to exploit. The risk, it is a future possible threat. A risk, it is a future possible threat. What does it mean? It means a threat that can happen in the future, not now. It is not there now, but in future there are some circumstances that might cause a threat to happen. So that is a risk. The future cause that may cause a threat to happen, it is a risk. If you transfer your money online, that is a risk. But if you don't transfer, there is no risk. So this is still in future. If you do transfer, you are in a risk. If you don't, so you are not. So it depends on what you do. This is an example only. Okay, in a security scenario, in a security plane, there are terms that you have to have in your head clearly. An attacker, a victim, a user, a subject. They are all valuing a behavior done by a person or, let's say, a software. A user might be an attacker, might be a hacker, might be a victim. The same thing, the user is a subject. So they are actors, either to set a security plan, means it's an owner, or to attack. This is an attacker or a hacker. User agent, or user and subject. The object is the question of the attack. The object, for example, the exam paper or the exam questions or the marks or the transcript or the profile inside the EduWave, they are all objects. So the EduWave is a question of attack. So the EduWave is an object. This is an example only. Permission is the right to you perform a task. Are you permitted or not? Do you have the permission or not? So the right to do that. So if your username and password are correct, you are permitted to log in the system. You have to provide a correct username and the correct password to access the system. So that is permission. ACL, you are awarded access to the system because your username and password are correct. So there is a list of control whether to give you access or not. That is an access control list, ACL. That might have your username, that might have your password, that might have the rights to do. Even if your username and password are correct, you're not allowed to see the exam before the time has come. So there is a control. The ACL can do that. Access control list. After you give a username and password, still you have to wait. Who is going to make you wait? The access control list. The auditing is to track what has been happened in the environment in the sense of if you are just making an audit, so you are tracing what has been happened at every single department to track what happened. It's a scenario of analysis. AAA authentication authorization and auditing. AAA authentication authorization and auditing. Authentication actually it is a scenario of permission. To be authenticated means you are approved. Your identity has been authenticated. Authentication. Authorization, it's a matter of giving you permission, exactly, permission to permit you, to give you permission. Auditing, it's a scenario of make an analysis. AAA, we call it AAA, AAA, triple A, A. The last word is the identification. Identification to give your ID. I have a card, I have a smart card, I have a username and password. So those are my IDs. To identify yourself. To identify yourself. Any questions, please?
No, Mr.
Okay, that's great. So that's great. I'm gonna stop at this level. Just if you have any questions you may ask, and I'll take the attendance, please.